Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Decentralized Voices. My name is Daria, and this is season 3 of your favorite podcast, where I have honest conversations with builders shipping on chain and AI powered products. Today, I'm joined by Mykola, co founder of Web3Privacy Now. We're getting into online and on chain privacy, one of the most debated topics of 2026, and still packed with myths. So stay with us for the whole episode and send it to your friends who still think that on chain transactions are invisible to track. Mykola, I'm happy to have you. Please share a bit about yourself and how did you start this privacy movement?
Hey, thanks for inviting me. There are different ways of how people come to privacy, and the context always matters because not everyone has been born in the family of deep, radical activists that dream of changing the world. And there's a good movie, One Battle After Another, that was screened recently in cinemas, showing that and generational change with activism can be quite different. My way of being born in Soviet Union, then growing through post-Soviet Union, then discovering the computers, being obsessed with the computers, being actually deeply rooted into pirate culture of exploring new music, new videos for free because of the specific economical conditions. And then through the years, I think that for my generation, we were on the forefront of capitalist desire of being better than our previous parents or grandparents, and the tech helped there. We explored social media, forefront of social media. We explored different first internet forums, and I spent 10, 15 years working in communicational industry, from digital agencies to PR agencies, technically doing surveillance capitalism or just selling people things they don't need. And I guess I was a bit lucky that over the years I understood that commodities and consumption is not something that I really crave for. I crave more for a culture, for the human connection, for the interaction with wonderful people, for helping people, and not necessarily force them to buy a new pack of cigarettes or energy bar. And it led me a bit into blockchain 2017 because everyone was screaming revolution. I was skeptical, but I was interested like how would it fly out. I learned my lessons, like how exactly to read a desire of person to launch and deliver the promises versus people create just clouds and smoke and mirrors, and there will be never the change never will gonna happen. It took me years, and then there was a COVID and all these economical changes in understanding kind of like what kind of new reality we are in. I was at that time general manager of the protocol, but I don't want to make people richer because I don't see that necessary goal of my life. I looked around and by coincidence I saw one vacancy in Logos called head of activism, and I
Mhm.
was highly interested that in crypto activism could strive with concrete goals of building grassroots movements. In a way, the irony is like I didn't get in, but I built my own stuff, which is sort of an interesting like correlation between what's happening in different protocols, what's happening in Ukraine, where volunteering is such big movement, a bit of messy privacy industry of 3 years ago into more well-defined, structured, and understandable field. When people know what has been built, they could have one place to check and track the progress, and they could always attest if these privacy promises are legit or not. So it's highly ideological. We don't do business here, so it's a non-commercial enterprise. And the third thing, we position it as a movement because we think that privacy is related to everyone and not is desire of few of us. So more or
Mhm.
less, that's a glimpse into backstory.
Can you please define the term privacy for those who are still like trying to define it for themselves?
Actually, there are two frames I would recommend people to watch and look and understand privacy. First is freedom, freedom of being able to talk with others about whatever you want to talk without anyone reading your thoughts. Freedom of exploring internet and sharing knowledge in internet without being censored or persecuted. for that knowledge, freedom of self-expression, and freedom of create your own personal vision of internet. And here, super simple example, introverts. Many introverted people don't want high social interactions. They want to create their small bubble that will be highly protected, highly private, and respectful to individual needs and desires. And the second one is more related with on-chain communication or the world is an original promise of crypto from early days. The ideas and the dreams of better internet that we can build upon should be private. So one, freedom. Second, original crypto ethos.
You built a Web3 Privacy Now movement. Can you share about its mission and why are you focusing specifically on Web?
I think that we had it recently offset in Barcelona, and even with our team, we were asking like how we should call ourselves. Are we a like non-profit organization? Are we a movement? Are we a collective? And I think that we are all of those things. Because if you sign a membership with Protocol Labs, a non-profit organization that fosters privacy beyond Web3, but uniting Web 2 and Web3 universes. It's like a formal approach. For the team and operations or a collective, because you're a bunch of individuals, around 10 people of the core that try to sustain the whole ecosystem of activities through the year. I don't know, 30 projects in like 15 countries, technical, non-technical events, dashboards, frameworks, hackathons, lectures, academy, and else. The movement starts when we provide all our ecosystem serves as a educational platform. You can think of us as the parallel educational institution or alternative educational institution for really complex audiences, because we think that privacy cannot be achieved only by social media. It should be a combination of giving researchers access to funds to be free from going and work for distracted organizations and focusing on making papers, or if it's applied research, experimenting on turning the scientific papers into reality, cryptographic reality. Second, you need to provide builders a specific education why they shouldn't choose scalability and go for privacy, because there's just too many people working with scalability and too few people ignoring privacy. Also, it means that you need not only pitch them and explain them the basics of privacy, but you need to pitch them politics 101 as like personal is political, because the blockchain is political, because it's about shifting power and not, and then the question, power from whom? If it's a power from one corporation to another corporation, that's a super strange shift. So the devs should have a certain, and we are working on educational course and explaining like how the world works and what does it mean decentralization. If we are talking about the big events, it's getting thought leaders on the forefront of, let's say, one of the talks of Ahmed Gapur from Flashbots was about making a secure silicon chips, basically working on the next gen of smartphones or notebooks that will be cryptographically protected and makes the audience connected with the world of hardware and makes the Web3 also the world of hardware beyond just mining devices. It's about uniting original free software movement godfathers like Richard Stallman with the newcomers who are exploring what does it mean open source and why so many governments and corporations are craving on open source and using open source movement in a really subversive way. So I would say that we serve as a platform that educate people how to dream about the alternative internet, and then everything else from Web3 to correspondent Web2 tooling is just means how to achieve the bigger imaginative goals. And why Web3? You know what? I think that if to be honest, I was lazy 3 years ago to change the industry, because every time I already quit crypto in 2018, beginning of 19, because I'm not a financial person. I don't care about spending all my day within the spreadsheets, financial, thinking about liquidity and whatever. I think that human life can be much more creative than that and much more beautiful. I don't see beautiful in numbers, only in numbers percent. was lazy to quit the industry a few years ago, and that's, as I said, the privacy come into play. And yesterday I was explaining to my colleague that privacy is a plug and play within the crypto to the whole range of other industries. AI
Hmm.
needs privacy. Let's say the devices needs privacy. Secure messaging needs privacy. Freedom related internet shutdown privacy. So it's the so potent topic that is really at the core of, I don't know, voting that we do in
Hmm.
traditional
Yeah.
life, totally anonymous. The way you talk with therapists, the way you talk with mom, kids, and stuff like that. And this helps. And if you operate within decentralized industry, I think this industry has an interesting momentum for being fast enough for an innovation, backed by enough capital that you can allocate to move faster than if we would do the same with the traditional industries. Plus, we can be free from bureaucracy. There are many people who think alike that don't like to be restrained by countries, banks, spreadsheets, and emails, and can where a relationship can be built by trust because the specific great culture of like this, like, let's call it transactional anarchism for the sake of the world, but people kind of like trust each other like that, and this is a beauty.
I remember that you started with small gatherings and then you hosted the Ethereum Cypherpunk Congress at DevConnect Buenos Aires. So, how it was?
See, in many senses, it's a bit toxic industry because of interesting cognitive bias. Many people in privacy communities, they keep um, reinforcing alarmism in sense of Big Brother is watching you. Oh, AI will gonna track all your data. Lots of this sentiment is like negative based. I think that this is the sort of mythological bias, and we don't necessarily always need an enemy because we can build our connections and our activities based on helping each other. When instead of fighting the bigger someone or like this Leviathan, we can focus on taking care of each other, which is much more fun and helpful. So, our story is a story of deep resilience from within and without. Like we started from the database on a GitHub when I copied awesome privacy and made the list of awesome Web3 privacy projects contributing to the game. Then it continued with a bunch of folks from the Czech Republic that were making ETH Brno hackathon, JIT privacy hackathon, and like jumping on a train. And together we made the first Web3 privacy summit actually in Prague almost 3 years ago. It was uh, totally grassroots, legit location, really good speakers who were kind of like surfing in a nice way. The wave of Tornado Cash brought lots of light and understanding of momentum to privacy. If there won't be that case, I think still only Monero, maybe Zcash Fox would be the one screaming about privacy. And maybe Bitcoiners about falling privacy or lost holy grail of privacy. So it was a good momentum of all those different things. And we have people like, I mean, Soleimani, who is now from Privacy Pulse in Oxbow,
Hmm.
but that time was sort of like the one who gave grant to Turn the Cash guys. Then there was Rachel Rosalili from Darkfly, people from NIM. Like you could really feel the badass culture and tons of smart people wanting to sort of like foster that culture forward. After that, we burn out. Actually, I hate doing events because I think it's a permanent stress. I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of like adding stress into life. You know, I keep saying like, okay, we should. Great that we are doing it, but let's find a way how to do it chill in a chill manner. The next meetup we made in Rome because one of the core people in the collective, Pier Giorgio, he is from Rome. So and Rome hosted the hackathon, so it was really nice in terms of organic exploration.
Hmm.
Through that hackathon, through our meetup, we made it in the super great location, like a cultural center that is independent from corporations, independent from the private capital. It serves the people, the creative arts, the solidarity collectives. So we also kind of find our own places, spaces in terms of the culture. We met there some OG hacktivists like Jaromil Denis Royo from Dyn.org. They are like on the forefront of European cryptography plus hacktivism. Plus, they know how to get money from like programs like Horizon 2020. And this specific person and his entity served as an example that you can sit on many chairs at the same time. You can go to cabinets and speak with bureaucrats using them, then channel the funds to your great activists, then go to cryptographic conferences to lobby your digital type of digital identity or digital wallet, and not abandon kind of like this communication or cabinets where things are solved or resolved for you without you even knowing about it. That's important transition of like how and why events matters for us. Plus, we met at these events people beyond Web3 who are doing a big change. Like for example, Arturo Filastro, he used to be in Tor, now runs project called ONI. They measure internet censorship, and they has been used from journalists to human rights advocates all over the world. Super legit, free NGO, no commercial interest, and really like warm-hearted people. Like you want to go with these people into the bar. That's important part of our culture. Then, if we jump into the future about the first Cypherpunk Congress in Bangkok,
Mm-hmm.
that happened at DEF CON. There are two major things. Once, when Vitalik Buterin made an article of Make Ethereum Cypherpunk, I was really interested, like how these many commercial people around, let's call them Vitalik chasers, Vitalik narrative chasers, how would they even jump into a cypherpunk narrative? And then I was looking at Eve Denver after that article, and the only person who was talking about cypherpunk was Peter van Valkenburg from Coin Center. A,
Mm-hmm.
Peter is a highly intelligent person. B, Peter knows that cypherpunks through entities like Electronic Frontier Foundations defending in the courts against internet censorship, but also
Mm-hmm.
internet regulation. And legal people are standing shoulder to shoulder with many tech people. And this is just a mundane reality that happens all over the world. Yeah, I think the police for deployment surveillance cameras in Berlin and won the court case, so there are less surveillance cameras. But this world does exist, and that's why Peter's talk on cypherpunk and necessity of the culture is so interconnected with the coin center lobbying of privacy tech as well. And then I was looking around how the privacy protocols, privacy OGs would reflect on cyberpunk narrative, and understood that we can be pioneers in that reintroduction of the culture and not waiting for the big organizations to
Mm-hmm.
take the lead, let's say. I went to FCC that year and I understood that it's Disneyland of wasted money. In which sense? There enormous money flood into the city. The value of the conferences is super low. Like 6 people on a panel talking blah 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 blah, and there's nothing, no insights, no information you can write down as super precious insights. The second thing, third, all the smart badass people from the globe coming there, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
pity that everything is wasted. And it's just this like a show of deals. And then I was thinking myself, okay, so there's a capital, there's a speakers, and there's one in one place. When will be the next similar thing happening? Bangkok, DEF CON, cool, let's go. So in a week, we made a website, got a big, nice program without having given a location in the Bangkok. Because I think that the nature of grassroots, we can outspeed slow thinkers. We can outperform these bureaucratic people who has like 7 people decision making, or the people who has a linear thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Once we will have location, we can't start doing something. That's a so retrograde approach to creativity. Once we made, we were thinking that we will get max 900 people like turnover, and we got several thousands, like almost 3K. At the moment, we just stopped calculating. Yeah, and it's a coincidence of many. It's a coincidence of desire to make better, not just events, but build a better culture. It's a coincidence of this, like, change this certain cypherpunk moment, while others were neglecting it. Third, we got Audrey Tang, like the cyber ambassador of Taiwan, at the audiences, And for me personally, it's important that such high grade people who really care about change, they could sit in the front row, listen to these talks, and not feel cringe. So we, the way we created the program happened to be uh, that caliber that we gained a lot of trust. TLDR about this industry is, I like to troll it. Imagine thousands of people, like great success. People were saying, "You're revitalizing the culture." Wow, people in the audience. And then only 5 people coming to us and saying, "How can we help?" Or like, "How can we support you?" So that's, you can think of this is the real ratio of people who care, while others
Mhm.
are performing, many others, performing the role.
One more place to be and to network. I guess the majority
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people
Yeah,
use
yeah.
it like this, not like a kind of movement or some idea to spread.
Yeah, that's where we can do better. So I think volunteer culture and mutual aid culture and support in this industry specifically should be way more supported and never incentivized. You add incentivization, you ruin all the games. Like if you want to change the world and power dynamics and stuff, you should find the places when volunteering is about. It's like when people volunteer and give food for free for homeless people on the street. You put money there. You can fundraise for buying that food, but you barely pay this person who will distribute. So what I'm trying to say that here, even if you do big successful stuff, it will be always never enough. I guess we have needs as an industry, and if people would consolidate efforts, we will faster, way faster to the progress. We will have a new Cypherpunk summit in Berlin in June as a core event of the Q1, Q2. We will have Cypherpunk Congress 3 in Mumbai. And there are two things to kind of like think about this. Berlin is totally beyond Web3 event. Berlin is such important city for the
Mhm.
freedom tech, for the human rights. We won't bring way more people on our turf
Mhm.
from Signal, from Brave, from Amnesty International, get them and sit together with crypto folks like, I don't know, from Fileverse, Radical, and the others, and be there together. And without separation, without tribalism, without pointing fingers, oh, you're a scammer, you're a toxic crypto dude, you're a right winger crypto dude, or whatever. While the Mumbai, I would love to bring this kind of like decolonial approach to show that the local scene does exist. There are many
Mhm.
human rights organizations in India. They have their own issues. They have issues with their own digital identity. They have internet censorship. We can learn from them without patronizing them how to act and do and live the world. And exploring the Hindu cybernetics and exploring the digital rights in India will help us to kind of like accept that the country with billions of people can have a voice.
Explain the terms cypherpunk and hacktivist and like what actually these terms mean and how would you explain it to your mom if she asks you?
With my mom, it will be harder, but I would say that with my mom, I would go with something like conscious approach to internet, much more smarter. I would maybe use even the word smarter, so she would understand it. And because my mom would value, let's say, qualitative time versus entertainment per se, I would focus on that. Having a smart approach to internet, you can squeeze out or get the most quality. For example, if you seek for specific knowledge, books, movies, music, whatever, you can really find it into smarter way. Versus if the machine will feed you never-ending recommendation, algorithmical noise, distractions, advertisement, and stuff like that. Maybe I would start with something simple like ad blocker or like Brave that has a blocker to say, look, do you want to be distracted by this advertising that just distracts you from whatever is from article you read. And this will fall down into cypherpunk agenda because I don't think that every mom should install Linux. That's not just a stupid idea, but it won't work. So we need to find the super small things that you can do in several clicks with the for non-technical people who is not from your generation. And I think we should use different vocabulary. Hilarious thing. Once you're meeting new people and they start asking, what do you do? This is like a shit show because you say activism and then people are like, well, what does it mean? And then you're like, oh, digital activism. They're like, oh, super weird. What's that? So through some years and encounters, I understood that. And one more. With average person in the street, I would never use crypto because
Yeah.
it has
Yeah.
it has so big bias that I would go like cryptography, decentralization, and I will obfuscate even the blockchain world because also people don't get it. Doesn't make any sense. So I would base my storytelling on the active agency within the internet. I would say like you uh, can reach more agency right now in internet. So then depending on the use case, for example, if people are into music for real, you can have all the. I used to be a music editor. I like yesterday I bought also 2 vinyls as a present, so I know how it's crucial to have ownership of your
Hmm.
taste, And this is super cypherpunk because it's about getting back agency over the internet. Let's call it. I'm not even saying data because it's so abstract. Data. What does it mean? About like music, movies, books, whatever. Yours. That's one thing. Second thing, I will try to explain surveillance capitalism, but in a super simplified terms. I would go that cypherpunk helps you to consume less bullshit because you are less exposed to marketing, you're less exposed to advertising, you're less exposed to websites, products that try to sell you constantly
Hmm.
things you don't need. And also, there's a notion of certain internet fatigue when there's so many elements. I'm not saying about even doom scrolling. So, technically, the cypherpunk can help you to live much more meaningful life, protect you from constant anxiety, protect you, empower your well-being. I always saying that internet should be a joyful experience and not constant stress. Then you're in control of your emotions. If
Yeah.
they, let's call them corporation governments, control your emotions, then you're perpetually burnout,
Hmm.
unfortunately. Or you're perpetually hooked on the consumer side that is constantly lowering down your potential. So I would then try to talk with people about their potential in their life, what they want to do in their life, what they want to achieve. Everything is possible here. That the question is like sometimes then they can be trapped in the conditions of work from 8 to 5, then commuting home 1 hour, then so tired that what they can do just order food and watch Netflix. It's kind of hard with these people to talk about capitalism, but maybe it's easier to talk with them about the future of work. And the cypherpunk can be a future of work when you do what you love, creating an environment, also communal environment with your friends that is protected, safe, well maintained, and also there are money around because maybe you support each other. Or maybe you're smart enough to take money from bullshit industries, but then build your own internet story in a conscious way, which is also what we are advocating for. We're not saying that, as I said about mom, we go Linux tomorrow. No, it's about how smartly to use tools,
Hmm.
proprietary tools, to then make change, not do the whole nice check marks at the beginning and then suffer along the way.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
well, one last thing, we encourage the cypherpunk should be a joyful experience and not guerrilla, not a militaristic, not a Kalashnikov type of experience. And here the hacktivists come into play. So the hacktivism in this sense is like rearranging the order into more playful and personal or collective way that will benefit broader global good. It can be a democracy, it can be positive sum game, it can be more decentralized internet because everyone has their own needs. But its ability to change the rules of the game. And it can be not only technical in terms of the hacking, Wi-Fi, or like running your own nodes, but it can be creative in terms of how you hack narratives, how you
Hmm.
hack the proprietary like communities, how you hack the culture. And in this sense, we preach that hacker is an interdisciplinary person that can be a designer, a marketing person, community manager, either AI prompt person who will contribute to the different type of culture. And I hope so that when we are saying about positive sum game, I was listening to interview recently with Bernie Sanders, and there's interesting comment on billionaires. And he was saying, I mean, it's a banal thought, but it's a nice thought. It's like, okay, you're getting rich, but when is enough is enough? Like, can you stop somewhere? Like, because maybe this money can flow to other people who are super poor. So I think that when I'm saying redistributing power balance, is also consciously understanding that you don't need to sit on those millions,
Mm-hmm.
rather open up to the others. So the hacktivism is kind of like, okay, you can think of your own personal good or your family or your community, but it would be nice. So then you will help others, and all these hackathons, meetups come into play, sharing how they can follow your way, how they can be with you. And here we're going for public goods funding. And so it's quite boring to see more and more and more and more millionaires around while the change is not really happening. Like change for selective few is not just boring, it's super banal, and it's kind of like, so that's what we were fighting for. I just gave the last bit here. I just went to croissant place in the morning, super cheap, honest croissants next to touristic place,
Mm-hmm.
meaning touristic area. And I think that supporting such genuine places helps you to feel more better human, and then giving back, and then have these wonderful relations. This can be also seen as a hacktivist culture shaping the bigger
Mm-hmm.
system, whatever you call it, capitalism, dictatorship, and then creating these spaces of love when you will experience joy of like just being together.
Yeah, thanks. Thank for sharing this. And I really like your idea, putting a person like this like human oriented approach, and putting a person in the center of this activism, hacktivism, and cypherpunk, and the idea that we can connect cypherpunk with future of work. Like before our chat, these two concepts were for me from different spaces, different worlds, and you connected them in this vision, and it sounds really great.
I have an example for you, just remembered. So I was judging if Prague hackathon, and there are many debates in the world about female inclusion, diversity, heated debates. But what I will compare two teams who came and presented their demo ideas. So we sit in a room like four judges waiting for teams to come. Then suddenly comes team of six dudes. All of them were sort of like back-end, front-end developers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at them and thinking myself, guys, like, okay, that you're friends, but how you don't understand that having a designer, think a creative person, a nice copywriter would help you, not your team, not your demo, but you personally to grow as the, because if you're building in the future a product, a startup, a company, an organization, you cannot just be, oh, we're developers, sorry, goodbye. Someone needs to manage finances, someone needs to read contracts, someone needs to do copyright. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT. I hope not ChatGPT, because this way you understand how to socialize, how
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
understand the others. And then another team came of two girls, two women. One was sort of like VC, kind of like investor product, and another was a designer. They did it was the opposite. They didn't have any backend person to make it, but they really made a great decentralized, I think it was music related platform through Figma. This designer made the whole great workflow from the first screen to the checkout screen. Really well done, because they were like the right product input. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to show here that everyone can be cypherpunk or a hacktivist, in the sense that you can be part of this like active attitude of change, but then you need to also be, then it should become a collective experience. When you complement your own different skills in a group, you move forward. Whenever your
Yeah.
group is a DAO, or your group is a small company.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, and it would be great to connect girls with the dead guys, and do some nice projects together, having backend creative ideas and design. Do you feel privacy is finally going mainstream, or we're still in a small bubble?
So I think if someone smart by the end of the year, this year, will check Google Trends and the world by phrases privacy plus Web3 or privacy and crypto, you will see a huge spike. So before Tornado Cash, there were hundreds of millions poured into privacy. Like fundraised 100 million, Neem fundraised 60 million, Alio fundraised almost 100 plus or something like that. So there were lots of buzz around. Finally, this is a blockchain we're dreaming about. Layer 0, layer 2 privacy, blah, blah, blah. After the years and the positive rulings and positive explainers, so like how to navigate the legal space or consequences of building decentralized tech, we see that VCs return to preaching of privacy, especially A16Z crypto. I was forgetting Winklevoss brothers, who are now betting down on Zcash wallet on Zcash ecosystem. They register Cypherpunk Twitter account, and they will pour hundreds of millions into privacy. It would mean that all these orgs that we're building or are building tool will create all the infrastructure of product, marketing, BD, communication, events around privacy. That's one big group and narrative that is happening, and it will grow. And you will see that, let's say, CoinDesk or similar media are writing about privacy, because before, if you will analyze the sentiment, you would see that narratives around privacy are like this. Tornado Cash developers persecuted, whatever. Vitalik says something about privacy, and technically, more or less, that's it. In terms of kind of like cultural representation, it's not there. It doesn't exist. Also, fun fact, just because some privacy builders are just nerds that don't go to the media, while this industry needs the media, especially to flip the negative connotation around privacy. That's one thing, that there will be more media buzz, there will be more product launches, stuff like that. Then you would see the branch, institutional privacy branch, that will grow a lot. Yeah, is your boyfriend still works for ZZ Kissing?
Yes. Yes.
So all these companies who are trying to bring banks, institutions, corporations on the chain will, so Etherealize, Maidan, ZK Sync, and the others, they will put lots of resources to show what people were doing, including me in 2017-18, pioneering all these B2B use cases when the corporations were saying, but we need everything private. And we're like, no, 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 it's a transparent chain. So now we will see like institutional adoption. In parallel, there will be this RVA adoption. It will create a clash between the industry, between the ideological approach. So some radical people that hate corporations by default, their own right, and governments, they would be like, why we need McKinsey on chain or the new bank on chain when we were saying from the beginning that we are anti-bank or anti-McKinsey? Like, what's happening here? The trick is like, and I'm kind of like, I understand this trick, not necessarily my ideological trick. The more money will flow into crypto, it will legitimize crypto. It will protect crypto from the further legal persecutions. The easier will be to integrate all the fancy ZK tech that doesn't have any legitimacy yet, but then easy to kind of like say that crypto is the default. And then you will have a choice. You will have a choice. Your fancy. Okay, one interesting thing to look upon. Technically, if the next bank will sponsor open source part of the protocol that will have highest security standard and highest ZK standards, and then you can fork it and use it for the collective and people, then it makes total sense of this equilibrium. It's a bit strange equilibrium, like rich people sponsoring decentralization. Technically, let's call it an experimentation. This phase will take us like 1-3+ years. 1-3 meaning that sometimes to launch a POC with corporation can take 1 year. So depending on certain, let's say, lobbying or like bonding with the corporation, sometimes you can do fake it to make it POC, like a demo in half a year, but then depends. It will be a big chunk of like attention. Then there will be wallet game of Zash, Zcash, Cake wallet in the Monero ecosystem, Kohaku in Ethereum ecosystem, and beyond, because Kohaku exists by Vitalik, so the other wallets would integrate private SDK into their products way more easily instead of us waiting for all these wallets to develop their own technical solution based on privacy. I think that what's important within this like hype around privacy is that still it should be a circular economy. Like somehow the money should stay and flow because Lefteris from Rotki should be able
Mhm.
to pay 5 developers a salary and pay taxes in Germany because that's his choice. And without, always craving for extra money. So that's also a big thing to watch out. But the Aztec is interesting in terms of all these cell tools trying to kind of like promise the ultimate privacy game. So instead of Aztec chain per se, I would look at applications. Applications take a long time to fly out because people behind them, some have really great experience as developers, some none. So it's unequal in terms of the entrepreneurial skills, but it's interesting to look at them as like separate ecosystem, like
Mhm.
how the ecosystem builds upon, but on an application layer. Because technical layer, yeah,
Mhm.
nice, but sometimes we talk too much about the numbers. And the last kind of like interesting segment, two more. One is decentralized identity because we can really integrate lots of ZK primitives into traditional industries. We will see way more use cases. The problem is like that Lasha from Ararium was telling me you can kill all the fakes in crypto and many, which means that you can kill all the TVL, fake TVL.
Mhm.
And which
Yeah.
means that the industry will be like, whoa, apparently way less people are using us or a part of the game. So no one is interested in killing TVL, which is
Mhm.
an interesting dilemma. But Zika identity will fly out nevertheless. I'm not necessarily in crypto per se. And then decentralized messaging is just interesting that it's kind of like if Vitalik will talk or Jack Dorsey about decentralized messaging, people will be kind of like using them. But if you zoom out, you would see that not many people are really interested in alternatives because it's hard to maintain them, it's hard to support them, it's hard to be there if you don't have friends there. So it's just the whole complex phenomena of building messages as the products, but it worth exploring and going through. The social media. So I was one of the first social media managers in Ukraine. So I have a professional gaze on this social media, and they are just crap in terms of addressing polarization and
Mhm.
addressing heated and negative discussion in socials and addressing working with people who are just challenging others verbally and creating a huge anxiety and stealing the arguments. And this is why social media should bring a new concepts of how to improve the technically positive experience of socials instead of constantly finding enemies and blaming each other, which just makes human life a bit boring and mundane. These categories is interesting to observe. So TLDR, big hype on privacy 2026, but people running different directions. Smart people should use the momentum. Honest people should try to build a funnel of getting newcomers into ethical privacy standards. So once they will burn out by corporations or like fake privacy, they will stay within the industry, understanding that it's like in real life. Some projects are decent or made by decent people. Some projects that have a token are non-decent, some or they're trapped in this like token economy, and some
Mhm.
projects are legit. And it's not about privacy; it's about any industry.
How is AI changing their privacy games?
I just saw a few days ago that in the States, a cybersecurity agency C-level executive dumped into ChatGPT classified documents. That's one thing. Second thing, one of the top use cases for AI is therapist, and technically you're sharing all your personal sensitive data to the machine
Mhm.
that becomes your life coach or like mental coach, which can lead to many disastrous situations. So I think that I'll give some context. Then there was at Computer Chaos Congress a talk from Meredith Whittaker, president of Signal, who has a legit education in ML. She was preoccupied that platforms like Windows, they are integrating AI agents inside by default. So
Mm-hmm.
these agents, for example, these agents can have access to signal communication because technically they can record your screen, they can record what you type from your keyboard. They are pretending to be like code assistant optimizing your technical life, but you don't have proper control over them. And if the on application layer they can read whatever you do, meaning that it's a high security risk related with the privacy of information. That's one example. The more example interesting that even if you want to run your LLM locally, you don't need to have a hardware. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge technical limitations of what you can do. So uh, I would say that first of all, it's a philosophical question why we need an agent and what's the role of the agent. Imagine that I will feed my emotional state to AI. If it will be leaked somewhere, I wouldn't care, but because I mean, that's my personal kind of like attachment to my emotions, that whatever other things of my emotions is my emotions, not their emotions. I will deal with that. But
Mm-hmm.
for many people, this could lead to dependency on social criticism, dependency on their personal image, because maybe some of them are in highly reputable positions, maybe some of them are oppositional journalists that if they would receive lots of blackmailing, it will damage the democratic societies and stuff like that. You can ruin your marriage just by honestly sharing with the bot what it is. So I think the problem is the security, the one thing. The second thing, the problem is attachment. And I think it's the same as early social media. So now you have fancy phones that saying, let's care about your well-being. Let's limit screen time. Let's limit applications. This never existed at the beginning. The promise was that the way you would use your phone, your application, you're smart enough to have control, which is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So with these agents, we will even have less control and LLMs. We will have less control because we will be too dependent on. I already met people who just asking ChatGPT everything and then not building skills, not building curiosity, not going through the challenges in life that lead to the insights related with knowledge. So I would rather say that privacy here is not just protecting your sensitive data, but limiting screen time or like let's say agent slash LLM time. The third thing would be like if it's like organization, then it creates way more complex privacy rules if multiple agents are scraping the data, working with the data and stuff. I think that we should think about what's good about privacy. It's boundaries. It's like a wall between you and something else. So I think that for us, it's
Mm-hmm.
important to understand that doing more, and basically agents are sometimes about that. It's not better than doing less. Sometimes doing less is what we need. Sometimes you don't even need that complexity apart from one thing that is not related with agents, but more related with LLMs. So I worked with digital agencies and I seen how designer work was substituted by instruments. You have ReadyMac or similar websites. I can make a website in 10 minutes. I don't need a backend and front-end developer. Goodbye. The same will happen with like basic front-end and backend developers for the websites. It's just the reality. So technically, LLMs for like building a simplified websites, they don't have security issues of registration and holding personal data. It's a big win for experimentation. So from communication perspective, you think about there's lots of noise and people channel attention to AI while it's a bubble in a sense of one example actually is like one of my favorite. Harari is flexing that he is a world thinker on any subject. And in his book, The Second After Sapiens,
Mm-hmm.
21st Lessons for Something. So it has been published, what, 7 years ago? And he was saying that AI will steal taxi jobs. And no one's stolen taxi jobs like properly. Even more taxi drivers appeared because of Uber and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that we are giving too much credit to blah blah thinkers and blah blah talkers. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of alarmism around the AI, AGI, and how the Terminator will be the reality. This doesn't help to unite people. This doesn't help to people be mobilized and active and build their own stuff, rather than makes them anxious, make them worried, plus one, which is like, why are you even doing this? Why you're not promoting ethical AI, different AI
Mhm.
that will serve communities, that will empower you, that will recommend you the easiest way of running, I don't know, your collective, your organization, your events, whatever. That's what we should focus on. I think there are lots of use cases when the optimization could help us all to do our work. Sometimes we just go and should drink beers with humans in the bar and understand that unpredictability, accidentality, non-linear thinking process is what makes our beautiful reality vibrant.
More beautiful, yeah, more
Yeah,
humanized. I guess that for now, AI ethics sounds less hyped and less commercialized compared to this high level of achievements. And if you open Twitter, like my feed is flooded by people who I just did this two prompts and built this. I asked my assistant to do this, and now I am millionaire. Like obviously, it's all about hype, and maybe 10 or 15% from all these projects are exist in reality.
we don't need so much things that those people try to sell us. We don't need constantly protein shakes reinvented for us every cycle. We don't need the fifth generation of waterproof jacket while the first generation was all right. Because then it creates a condition when we as the humans, and I know those people, we know so much about this external battery, or we know so well about the power cycles of computer, but we don't know how to talk to each other, how to express kindness, honesty, share beautiful things. And we know lots of things about Cyber Week and iPhone last model with 20% sale, but we don't know much about, let's say, alternative operational systems, how to own our music and not give it to Spotify, how sometimes if we pirate but then pay artists directly, it's an ethical approach rather than the applications holding your money or even paying for concerts and merch directly at the events and stuff like that. Or sponsoring directly a production of the new movie, for example. And I think that we are obsessed with numbers. We are obsessed with promises, but rarely we talk about what do you want from life. And I don't think that necessarily, if you can zoom out and you think of influencer industry around the world globally, I think, for example, in Asia, what I've seen is a disaster because many female influencers foster false beauty standards, creating a loop of anxiety how beautiful you should be in relation with selfie culture. And this where these like influencers that promote products make it worse for the humans and for the self perception of people.
It was amazing conversation, and I'm sure that for our listeners, for viewers of this episode on Twitter, on YouTube, it would be an eye opener in a good way, and the window to the concept of privacy, hacktivism, cypherpunk, and everything connected with this. Thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, and I wish everyone a celebratory privacy and big joy on using the internet and meeting people in real life.